After you guys have the opportunity to ask questions, it's a really long session. So there are 2 mic stands, and there are also people in the audience to bring you a mic. If you need one, just raise your hand. So we're just going to kick it off with something kind of broad. What is an influencer to you? And tell us a little bit about your company. Start with you, Marco.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I think that influencers are everybody in this room. Everybody that's up here on the panel. I mean, I'm assuming that we've all influenced some of you to actually come here to Shoptalk in some way, shape, or form. So it's really just word of mouth. When people start separating sort of word of mouth in the traditional sense from this new age of influencers, I think we sometimes lose the concept that it's really just the beginning building blocks of all marketing, now accelerated. We now have the same relationships, the ability to push a trusted message to another person that's either a friend or somebody that admire us, and being able to do it now instead of just one-to-one, one-to thousands. And what we do on our side at SPEAKR is develop out enterprise technology that helps enable companies like Timing to actually form their own influencer network, companies like AT&T or Microsoft to identify and manage entire runs of influencers across their entire categories and brands, and then being able to manage that end-to-end, everything from identification to evaluation of influencer to predicting their performance, to managing the FTC compliance, payments and reporting, all in one system.
That's a lot.
So what he said.
you guys work with influencers.
Yeah. I believe the same thing. I think the word influencer I think has evolved over the years, and we try to think of it more in the traditional sense. While we work with some celebrities, we don't just focus on celebrities as influencers for us. We think of influencers as brands, so we co-brand all the socks for Flywheel Sports. We did a collaboration with Shake Shack last year that was incredibly successful, that they pushed out to all their channels and some of their retail stores. We're announcing later this year, we already announced it, but we're going to release later this year a collaboration with the Muhammad Ali brand. So we think of those opportunities as certainly influencers. We partnered with 2-time Olympic gold medalist Hannah Teeter, not because of her enormous reach, because she's not one of the biggest reach influencers, but we knew that if we were going to develop a technical ski sock from a brand that had no heritage in really deep athletics, that bringing along an influencer or a 2-time Olympic gold medalist athlete to help do the R&D process alongside us would give that product more credibility than just us coming out on our own. But probably most importantly, we think of our customers as influencers. We use referral programs and through customer service, we're constantly engaging our users through our referral platform, Talkable, which is one of the biggest referral technologies available. I highly recommend them, by the way. We have the highest referral rate of any of their customers. 40% of our customers have referred at least one paying customer, and that's a huge testament to us, to the way that we feel like we empower our audience to embrace our brand. If you ask around the room, by show of hands, how many people here have bought something that a celebrity influencer has told you to buy? Awesome.
It's crushing it.
1, 2. How many out there have bought something that your friends have told you to buy? Yeah. All right. No further questions.
All right. Moving on, someone who manages talent.
Yeah, so it's a very broad answer. There's a lot of ways we can answer that question. Influencers are different meanings and different groups of people. DBA started 7 years ago as an influencer management company. When it started, we thought it was a joke that influencers needed representation and management. Since then, we've grown to managing 200 clients and competing with some of the biggest agencies in the marketplace. I would say that a major driver for passionate and meaningful in the plus size community. You have others who are in the beauty community. Others are amazing food influencers. And my division, Digital Brand Products, focuses exclusively on working with them to develop their brands and products under their brands. So partnering them with great brands like Bombas and saying, hey, this is a great tie-in, our great natural, organic, authentic fit, or saying you have already built a brand with your dedicated following, what products do you sell and build your brand into the future with? This is really what we focus on.
Great. So, Lavelle started Mizzen+Main about 5 years ago. And the way that we look at influencers, we look at it 3 ways. I'll give an explanation of our company in that. Number 1 is athletes and celebrities. Number 2 is bloggers and influencers in the digital realm. And number 3 is our customers. So we started Mizzen+Main about 5 years ago, introducing the world's first performance fabric dress shirt. So think if Nike teamed up with Ralph Lauren and made a dress shirt, all the characteristics of advanced performance fabrics, but in a traditional dress shirt. That's a high hurdle for a lot of customers to be able to cross, to think that that could look like a normal dress shirt. So once we started working with some professional athletes who just liked our product, we decided we wanted to do an endorsement deal and signed one with J.J. Watt to be the face of our brand about 2 years ago. That wasn't something that drove thousands of people to instantly go buy our product, but it was enormously important from a credibility perspective because people know how small we are because we're not an enormous company yet, that for him to sign that endorsement deal, he must really believe in the product. And so it gives us a lot of credibility in the marketplace to customers online, but then also to our wholesale partners as well. They know that we're serious, they know that we're legitimate. We've also done some smaller deals with other athletes. The second being influencers and bloggers online. We've tried to pay some fashion bloggers, we were talking about this backstage, just kind of sending a check to a fashion blogger and saying post about us doesn't do anything for us, but what we found work really well is revenue share agreements. So if they post about us and they get a link back, they get a cut of every sale. That's worked extraordinarily well for us. And because we're a very narrow focused menswear, our shirts are $125, it's a narrow subset of bloggers, so we feel like we've got a pretty good handle on that. And then the last would be our customers, as you talked about, our customers as influencers. We use another referral program, which has been so huge for us. Just people love the product. If you share it and someone buys it with this link, you get a $50 credit to our site. It's almost half off. We don't do discounts, so that's a pretty good deal for our customers. And we really try and tap into our brand evangelizers. Our top 130 customers have spent $500,000 with us in 5 years. And those are the people that we want spreading the word. And so we find ways to kind of engage with them, surprise and delight them, reward them, without just giving them more product. Because these are people that have 40 or 50 of our dress shirts. They don't care that much about getting one more free one from us, but they love spreading the word. So those are the ways that we look at it, and excited to kind of explore some further thoughts.
Okay, so it's clear that if you can make an authentic connection, that influencers really, really work. But how do you build that authentic connection, and how do you kind of measure success?
You sure you want to ask me that one?
I'm asking you.
I mean, I guess I'll start. Our company was founded on a mission. When I first came across the idea for the company, it's when I learned that socks were the #1 most requested clothing item in homeless shelters. And seeing the success of Tom's and Warby Parker had just launched, that was really kind of the driving influence behind starting the brand. We obviously spent a lot of time thinking about the product as well, but with that core to our DNA, we have had the huge benefit of a number of very big celebrities. Zac Efron is a big fan of ours. Some of the Kardashians wear our products. Robin Wright has multiple times taken pictures on set of House of Cards. Miley Cyrus is a fan. And those are all people that we've actually never directly interacted with. We haven't paid them anything. And what we're constantly seeing in their posts or in any articles that they're photographed in wearing our product, they're always mentioning the mission side of things. And one of the things that we've done to kind of further along that engagement, whenever we send out like gifting opportunities or something like it's called like seeding, celebrity seeding, we include these Snapchat cards So we're really giving them an opportunity more than just saying wear our product and take a picture of it because it really doesn't benefit you at all, it only benefits us. We're giving them a bigger incentive to donate, to post about our product.
And you sort of measure engagement?
Yeah, I mean, not really. I mean, we think of it more so as content. Sure, we see these, little pops here and there anytime, something, Michael Strahan, for instance, talked about us on, on the Today Show. Today Show, is that the one he's on now? Good morning, America. Good morning, America. You never know. No one ever knows where Michael Strahan is these days. So he's everywhere. So he gave us a plug one morning, and we obviously were like, why did we just do like 40 grand in sales in the last hour? And then sure enough, and he told the URL and everything was pretty great. But outside of that, I mean, we really just use it, as you were saying before, more so as a validator in the marketplace, and we then take that content, share it back out with our consumers through our social channels, through our emails, and it allows kind of the grassroots followers to feel like they're a part of this journey and connection that they discovered us before XYZ celebrity.
Yeah. So that's freaking awesome, and mind you, not every company has that beautiful story to be able to tell from a messaging standpoint. If you do, awesome, right? If you don't, I think that again, going back to sort of traditional marketing 101, when you're looking at influencers, admiration plus reach plus engagement, perfect storm. That is great, right? If all you have though is reach in the right audience, it's not very different than when you're buying TV or buying radio. You don't go to your MTV and say, all right, which TV station really loves my product? Right? That's not the prerequisite. The prerequisite is, do they reach my audience? Right? And can they actually carry my brand message for my audience to actually potentially create a new discovery node? Now, the beauty and sort of reality of a lot of the companies that are sitting up here is at one point, we're all startups, right? And we're starting off, we don't have those people that even know about our product to go to. So how do we get it off the ground? We have to create that discovery moment, and influencers can be used as that discovery moment. And all you need to do is look down, what I sort of call it is this funnel of are those people that are very admired, like Miley Cyrus's or the big celebrities, where somebody could be useful to introduce your brand. Is there somebody that actually has a high level of trust, which might be that really sort of small grassroots influencer that's niche, that say DBA, they represent the plus model who only has maybe 50,000 followers, but they're really heavy into that category. And each one of those, they don't have to already know your brand. They can be an introduction factor for other followers and people that they have that are essentially already bought into their brand, and now all they're doing is piggybacking on the overall brand equity that person has and allowing your brand to get introduced to their voice. So and the only reason why I get passionate about that is I see a lot of people stopping on the influencer funnel of just saying I want people that really love my brand, and the other side of that coin that can also be a risk is if you only engage with people that absolutely love your brand, it becomes white noise. Because now it's the people that have already bought in, that are already talking about your brand, that are already exposing to the audience over and over again, so you're not getting those new customers. So the mix of both of those things is so necessary to actually be successful in influencer strategy.
Well, Daniel, when you're working with these established, traditional legacy retailers, and you're convincing them to work with a new influencer, how do you prove to them that it works? How do you measure success for that?
So it's a combination of different things. I think you had a great answer. You touched on part of the answer, which is authenticity. So oftentimes we'll meet with people and they'll say, oh, everyone has 5 million followers, and having a large number of followers doesn't equate to a large conversion or a large ability to promote or sell a product. So all of our influencers have a very similar story, where they started with one follower, and a friend liked them, and her friend liked her, and they all kind of snowball into these great followings. If you look at someone like Selena Gomez, who's 80 million followers on Instagram, we don't know how much power she has to sell whatever those followers are, but we know that somebody in her food roster has 1 million followers, has been built organically over 5 years because she's so selective about the type of food she likes. She's a very powerful food salesperson. So, for example, we've now partnered with Sonoma. We're launching a sauce collection this May with them, with one of our best foodies. And they're very excited. We're going to get a lot of traffic to them. They've developed a beautiful product. How we tell if it's going to convert is a combination of whatever data we can pull. We do have data we can pull down in terms of demo for each influencer. Some beautiful women may have 95% men following them. It doesn't mean they're going to sell a lot of products. They may have 5 million followers, but they're not going to move anything. So on the fashion side, we also have a lot of fashion influencers that we can track and see their affiliate and conversion data. So one of our best dress sellers sells thousands of dresses a month for many retailers. So we know she has a great ability to connect with her customers when it comes to selling dresses. And retailers also see that because through reward style and shop style, they're paying commissions and they see who those are going to and who's driving those sales. So there is some data, there is understanding the audience of each influencer, and there's also an intangible ROI component. When Giselle is the face of Victoria's Secret, what's the ROI in Giselle? Nobody really knows, but they're still paying them tens of millions of dollars.
She's no longer with them, and that just even goes to say how effective that was, right? I mean, you still see this like tail effect of how powerful.
But you can't quantify her exact ROI. And a lot of people are like, I'll give you a commission if you promote my product, I'll pay you a percentage of sales. So we also say that the right influencers give you an intangible element you can't quantify as a percentage of sales. Everyone wants to come to us and say, hey, promote my product, I'll give you a percentage of sales. We're like, no, it doesn't work for our talent because they have the ability to help present your brand in a meaningful way. It's above the direct sale from that.
And wouldn't you guys also say that because the internet, people's access to the real lives of some of these influencers, you go back 15 years, right? And you'd have Britney Spears be the face of Pepsi Cola in the new Super Bowl ad, and you'd see the sales. They could easily track that. And then today you see people like that, and you're like, oh, she works out 5 days a week. There's no way she's putting sugar water into her body at the consumable rate that Pepsi's convincing us to. Or it's like Eli Manning is not driving a Ford Fusion. It's like this weird disconnect between some of these. That's only because you're from Dallas. I think the authenticity aspect of it is like Giselle is a perfect match, right? Because you could, at least in my world, I can imagine her wearing Victoria's Secret. So, do you find? Would you say that that's a big component? The internet has kind of like neutralized a lot of the effect, like the original effect that celebrity endorsements would have, because people have such a transparent view into their daily lives to know whether this person would or would not actually use this product.
Yeah, so we always push authenticity as a major component of any brand deal or any product deal. So it has to be a real natural organic connection, or it doesn't work for any brand or any endorser. So ultimately, now everything is so transparent that you are able to see in people's lives. That,
But I think that's to your point when you asked the audience about how many of us have bought things from our friends, and we're in this area where celebrities are always like this untouchable thing, and all you could do is admire from afar, right? And now when we're touching, even from a celebrity standpoint, getting more exposure, but then more so creating these little niches where I can say I'm one of the 50,000 people that really loves this fashion blogger. Right? I've created a little micro community in and of myself, right? And my micro community is not defined by these big swathy demographics that we're used to in marketing. All right, moms are going to get this one message, and this person is really great for all moms. And you're like, well, I could be karate mom, I could be babysitting mom, I could be stay-at-home mom, I could be skydiving mom, right? And you can't speak to me in one way, but skydiving mom, you like that one. but if I have an influencer's voice or somebody that I can resonate with that may have a small following, might have a large following, but their language is specifically targeted to the type of mom that I am, that is way more powerful than these sort of generic swaps that we had to take. We had to take these because legal could approve that one video that's going to go up on all the TV stations and that one billboard, but now I can actually have these sort of micro-segmented conversations from tons of people that are actually speaking directly to that group in their language.
Well, and Kevin, I'm curious from your perspective, because you guys kind of have that more traditional endorsement deal, but you also do work with influencers and you leverage your customers. I mean, what's your perspective on all this?
Yeah, so when we signed our deal with JJ, there were a set number of photo shoots and appearances, and the one thing he said to me was, "You will never tell me what to post on any of my social channels." And he's 6'5", 300 pounds, and a linebacker, so I said, "Of course we won't." And listened to exactly that directive. But part of his engagement is so powerful because it's clear that he's not like, "Thanks Cheetos, thanks Pepsi, thanks whatever." He's the face of Reebok, so that's in everything that he does. But he is very careful in how he manages his presentation, so that authenticity factor is much higher. It's not that there's a post a month and everyone is then driven to buy Mizzen+Main, but there is very clear affiliation between the two of us. And coming back, Marco, to what you had talked about, that kind of authenticity versus reach, one of the best stories that we've ever experienced has been when we sponsored the Tim Ferriss podcast. How many of you guys listen to the Tim Ferriss podcast? This usually, I would expect a lot of people here. So we bought a 3-episode commitment, which was more money than we spent on anything ever. This was early 2015. I'd never listened to a podcast, let alone his, but I knew that his audience was so passionate. It's a big audience, but it's also so passionate for anything that he recommends because he spent a decade building an authentic following that just believes in anything that he says. He could say eat kale 15 times a day. A lot of his followers probably do already, but like he could say that and people like kale would be sold out overnight at Whole Foods. And so when we sponsored his podcast, he really did love the product. And he said to his followers, "Every one of you knows I hate dress shirts." That was how the endorsement of our dress shirt started. But when I do have to wear one, Mizzen+Main is the best ever, and it was just a short plug, and we had him use a code so we could track. And within 5 days of the first podcast, across a 3-episode commitment, it was a net positive ROI, including our cost of goods. And it doubled our business, and we never went backwards. And that was finding someone who could tell our story to a very engaged, very focused audience. Now, I can't afford his podcast anymore because it's done so well for so many people that now huge brands are buying it, and good for Tim. But that is a way that we were able to really hone in where a lot of people in the country have never heard of Tim Ferriss and would have probably told me it'd be crazy to spend that money on a podcast. But when you find the right niche and the right influencer and the right message, it can be infinitely more powerful, and there are ways to measure that ROI. I mean, anytime one of his podcasts hit, we would just have a massive spike within the first 72 hours because his listeners would instantly download it, listen to it, and then take action on whatever he recommended.
It's pretty impressive.
It was a
But
great experience.
I'm sure not every experience is like this, right? I'm sure you all have encountered major challenges working with influencers. Let's hear some of the horror stories. What can go wrong?
I mean, I can almost counter that one. We kind of looked at podcasts early on, and a lot of them for us have done incredibly well. It still is about 25% of our overall ad spend. I think we're going to spend something like $5 million on podcasts this year. It's a very effective channel when you kind of can narrow in. But I had heard an interview with the founders of Squatty Potty, another fellow Shark Tank company, and they had said that they were getting like $5 CPAs on Howard Stern. And so I went in the next morning and I was like, guys, we're gonna advertise on Howard Stern. We were like, I think our total advertising budget at the time was like $450,000 for the year. And I think like a 2-week run on Howard Stern was $50,000. And I was like, but the CPAs are $5 for Squatty Potty. You could see, like, because of the toilet humor connection with Howard Stern, having him read our, for every pair sold, it goes to the homeless, it just did not resonate with his audience at all. And we had like $250 CPAs. And I still to this day, it's the joke around the office that whenever I recommend something, they're like, are you sure this is not I'm just like, okay, I leave it up to the smart people in marketing to figure that stuff out now. But yeah, it's truly not universal. It really is about finding what the right fit is.
Without giving away any identifying characteristics, we were close to working with, I'm just going to say, an athlete. And super excited to work with him, would really opened up a lot of doors for us. And ended up, we kind of hit pause for no specific reason, and shortly thereafter he was arrested, and then shortly thereafter another scandal hit, and then another scandal hit. And I just breathed the biggest sigh of relief that we hadn't signed a deal with him, because it has nothing to do with us, but that would just come raining down on us in such a bad way that there's a two-part when you sign a deal with an influencer. You're aligning yourself with them just as much as they're aligning with you. And so there's a lot of caution that needs to be undertaken as you approach those. Is this person going to be arrested? You never really know, but they might have a higher propensity for it. And if it works for your brand, some people say no press is bad press, but it would have been very, very bad for us. And thankfully, all the guys that we've worked with have not been arrested.
Yeah, one thing just to chime in on this, I think there's also two schools of thought and ways that you can approach the influencer phenomenon, right? In one scenario, it's sort of a redo of our brand endorser and ambassador style approach. I found this one perfect person. That's going to come with a lot of the same risks that Nike has when they're promoting an athlete, and it was just TV. It's well, they could go crazy tomorrow. Influencers are going to be no different, right? But one of the opportunities that you have with influencers that is very different from the traditional endorser world is you actually can have multiple people. You could have dozens, you could have 50, you could have 100. And the reality is that when you're thinking about it from, hey, I'm taking my big gamble on these one or two really big people, and I do want to go through this insane vetting process to make sure that they're so perfect. Down here, I can be very, very hands-off. These can be my publishers, my distributors, my brand ambassadors on a much more micro level, and I'm not going to be worried about the level of affiliation from them because they're somebody that is just a part of my sort of product community, which could be an enhancement of customers that I identify that are really, really high level, those people that have a lot of command over that particular segment that are also big, they're not so freaking mega big, they could actually create an association with your company, and that sort of opportunity to play in that area, I think is really awesome. And we sort of think of it as a portfolio approach because then, both from a look and feel, a performance side, a cost side, all of those things, you're never putting your risk too much into one basket, so you can just quickly switch. You can swap them out and you can use it in very much in the same way that you would think about traditional media buying, right?
What about for you guys?
So, a lot of what we're talking about is pure endorsements, and I don't really focus on the endorsement side of the business, and there's a lot of experiences that we all share and deal with, and ultimately that's a lack of communication or expectation in terms of communication and expectation. So if you want one thing and you expect something else, or they don't click on the brand, then it may not work. On the product side, there's a lot of huge home runs. If you look at a Kylie and Kendall, it's hundreds of millions of dollars. If you look at Ipsy, it's $100 million plus beauty and cosmetics business. On the product side, we're working with great operators or retailers that don't deliver on the influencer's vision. It's very challenging. It's also communicating expectations and making sure everyone's very clear about what they're trying to accomplish. So partnering with a vendor that doesn't deliver or a product that doesn't live up to their expectations really results in an unwinding and a very stressful, unpleasant business reality.
Yeah, what do you do? Just wait for it to sell out or hold
So
it, or?
the biggest challenge is that every influencer's following is all they have in some sense. So they're not going to release something that they're passionate about, and something that doesn't stand for them, especially behind their brand. They won't say this is my name on this product if it's not a good product. So more often than not, if it doesn't get approved and it doesn't get solved, it never even makes it to market. And that's a lot of time and energy everybody puts into a project that doesn't come to fruition. So ultimately, any longer term integrated partnership or sponsorship spending more time making sure everyone's expectations are in line, making sure the budgets and the goals and the merge plan and the distribution plan and the content is also in line, and making the partnership much more productive.
Makes sense. We have a little under 20 minutes left. Do you guys have any questions for the panel? It might be kind of fun to open it up. We have the two mics and then roving mics. So yeah, right here. There's a mic coming to you.
My question is, how do you draw the line between endorsement, where a person says, well, I like this brand, so that's what I'm supporting, versus this person would be paid to just say they like the product and not necessarily. Because I'm thinking particularly on Instagram, you might see somebody that's with a product and you're thinking, well, they really like the product, but then somebody just paid them for it to be featured. And so as more and more people start doing that, like how do you draw a line between, I think advertising placement, I think is what's called. Product placement, there you